to the Water Online Show. I'm your host, Travis Kennedy, publisher here at Water Online, joined as always by my colleague and friend, Mr. Worldwide, Kevin Westerling. Kevin, it's a new year, a new season here at the Water Online Show, and we are coming at the world live from just outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and we are powered by Water Online, the leading online destination for the water wastewater market. What a show we have in store for everybody today, right, Kev?
Yes, can't wait. We're on to a new year, new season, and we got a great guest, so let's get cooking.
I mean, there's lots to talk about, but I can think of no better topic to jump into the new year and season 3 here at the Water Online Show than Stormwater. So, Kevin, you and I have had a lot of episodes and a lot of discussions over the years around environment, the way that weather has been acting, whether you're in the Northeast or the Southwest or even in this all over the country, right? And there's these superstorms that are popping up, and they're popping up with more frequency and with greater impact than they used to. And municipalities and consulting engineering firms have to be relied upon to find answers for cities and towns that have to deal with these sudden onslaught of rain levels. So what I'd like to talk about today, and we have the perfect guest for it, is there's a partnership between New York City and Arcadis, and Arcadis is one of the leading consulting engineering firms in the world. And we have the guest that we have here today is the National Stormwater Resilience Practice Lead. His name is Shandor Szalay, and we're very pleased to have you. I'll get to him in a minute with the first question, but I wanted to sort of draw an illustration in our minds here. I think we could all remember Hurricane Sandy, especially those of us here in the Northeast. Would see just reams of water. The subways in New York City look like waterfalls. I can remember distinctly an image of Eli Manning when he was still playing quarterback for the Giants in the subway, sort of looking at all of this water coming into the New York City subway. It was crazy. It sort of sticks out of my mind. There's points at the Jersey Shore where you can see where the ocean met the bay because of Hurricane Sandy as the levels came up. So one of the things that has occurred in the not so distant recency of the calendar is the DEP has a large program to control CSOs. So now we have municipalities and consulting engineering firms working together, not just responsible for the flooding, but also the water quality standards. So part of this is this partnership that Arcadis has with New York City, and that's what Shandor is here to talk about. So Shandor, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Let's start with setting the stage. So if we could just set the stage for the project Arcadis is undertaking with New York City to manage stormwater. So what is it and how did it come about? Let's start there.
Yep. Right. So, Arcadis is a big company. We're really pleased to be partnering with DEP on this program. The program is called Resilient New York City Partners, just the name of the program, but it's DEP has a massive investment in stormwater management. So it's like $3 or $4 billion over time.
Wow.
And there's a lot of different pieces of that Arcadis is involved in. But one of the missing components of the program for DEP has been this idea of working with private property. So, if you're a redeveloper, if you're redeveloping a property, you're going to trigger stormwater management regs. That's kind of covered. But a lot of the properties throughout the city or any city are older properties. They built their developments before there were any regulations in place. There's absolutely no stormwater management. So DEP kind of really wanted to address that problem. But along with that, DEP also wanted to develop a new type of program that could get infrastructure in place faster and better and cheaper. And that was always part of kind of the mindset of DEP, is how to deliver infrastructure quickly and cheaply. And this was kind of part of that evolution. So changing the model from design, bid, build, which is how you typically build infrastructure, to what we call a full delivery model. So if you think about a wetland mitigation project or a design build or a P3, that's the model that this is now embracing. And Arcadis does run the program. So you can think of us as kind of the developer. It's weird to be a stormwater developer, but that's kind of what we are. And so we do soup to nuts. We acquire the properties, We do the designs, we hire the contractors, we build the projects. And then at the very end of that, if we're lucky, we get paid by DEP. No, we always get paid by DEP. So we
Always
take
going
on
to get
all the
paid.
risk. Yeah. We
Yeah.
take all the risk of the project process, and all of that risk is on us, which is a really great thing for DEP. We're happy to take that and just make it all about delivering results. So we've developed this process for how we pick sites. As you can imagine, since we're taking on the risk, we've got to pick sites, we've got to develop projects, so we're managing risk every step of the way. And so we want to stay disciplined, but also move quickly. And we just have a fantastic team at Arcadis that's been able to step up and deliver this project for DEP.
That's great. Hearing about that project. I have read a little bit about it myself, so I know that the project delivery on it, as you were describing, is quite unique. Can you dig down a little deeper for the audience on just how unique it is?
Right. So this is a full delivery or paid for performance contract. So what happens with this contract is we get paid based on outcome. So in this particular contract, we get paid per acre inch of stormwater management that we deliver. So every time we're able to build a system that manages an acre inch of impervious surface, we're able to certify that asset, deliver it to DEP, and get paid. But what we love about the model is really that it kind of it creates a situation where we can really innovate. DEP cares about outcomes. They don't care necessarily about the process of getting there. So in terms of how we pick the properties, in terms of the design strategies to some extent that we use, and the process that we use to mitigate risk or do environmental testing or whatever it happens to be, we kind of develop that process ourselves. DEP is always a partner, but we're able to drive a lot of innovation to get to that outcome, to get to that final outcome. So really I think what we love about the project and what makes it so transferable is the fact that kind of the how is up to us, and the what is really what DEP cares about. And so we're able to really drive a lot of innovation in our process to do things faster, better, cheaper, to get that same output and that same outcome for DEP.
This program is really unique. And I'm talking about the DEP program that we've been discussing.
Yeah.
I'm curious, how deep can you go in terms of how the program is paid for and how it differs from the daily and the common of what we've become accustomed to over the past 50 years of how a project like this is paid for? So how granular can you get?
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, the ratepayers are paying for the investments, right? So, but what we really love about about the program is how we do the financing. Yeah. So the financing is, kind of how the program is paid for along the way. So DEP is ultimately reimbursing us. But when you fix the outcomes, when the contract is all about outcomes, the financing just becomes another variable that we need to solve on the way to that outcome. So in terms of the arrangements that we have to fund our work, to fund contractors, to build projects before we get paid by DEP, those are all things that are kind of up to us. And so we have a lot of flexibility there. DEP really doesn't, to be honest, care about how we finance the work, as long as we're able to deliver the outcomes at the end of the day. So that creates, I think, a lot of room for innovation around private finance. But again, DEP is not stipulating the details about how it happens. We're able to do what we need to do on our side to arrange short-term construction financing, to fund pre-development activities, all the things that a developer would do on their own dime, if you want to go back to that analogy. And then we're able to, at the end of the day, deliver the project for DEP.
Outcome-based versus process-based. It's welcome news.
Yeah, 100%.
Breath of fresh air. I love it.
And obviously you're held accountable for doing a really good job with the project. But you always do want to save as much money as you can, right? Keep costs as low as you can on any project. So, what efficiency gains do you get out of this type of project delivery that like save time and therefore saves money?
We love
Yeah,
efficiency on this show. I can't wait to hear
Oh
it.
yeah.
efficiency is good. Efficiency is our friend. I mean, it's working on private property itself. So when you get out of the right of way and you're working on a private site, typically you're just dealing with less conflict, less, just being able to work, in that more isolated environment. I think is helpful from an efficiency standpoint. Less restrictions. We do work fast intentionally. And the private properties that we work with want to get the projects installed quickly so that everybody's on the same page in terms of driving speed of installation. That's good for the bottom line as well. Contractors love that. So when they understand that there's not a lot of restrictions on timing, they can get in and get out and build the project quickly. They like that. So they come back to us with better pricing the next time. We also get paid from DEP very quickly on this program, and it's a lump sum invoice, so we're able to bill them in a much different way, and they're able to turn around the payments much more quickly, which our contractors then love as well. So they're going to be more aggressive in their pricing because they know that they can get paid from us quickly. And it's the model too, the flexibility and the pay for performance model. So when you have a model that is outcome focused, you can do all kinds of things to cut your own costs to get to that same outcome. So, it really is something that stimulates innovation every step of the project delivery process, from the sites that we pick intentionally to minimize risk, to minimize, that process of getting the projects done, but also the design choices that we make, every step of the way. The contractors that we bring on board, every step is geared towards maximizing efficiency and getting the projects in the ground so that we can move to the next one and keep solving problems for DEP.
That's one of the really unique things about this industry. So, unlike industries like life sciences or things where you're dealing with almost direct to consumer, there's really no competition. So, the city of New York is not competing with the city of Philadelphia, or the city of Philadelphia is not competing with the city of Chicago or San Francisco or Dallas, unless it's on the football field. But
Won't talk
that's
about
what that's right. We're not going to talk about that right now. But one of the really unique things is that specifically. So
Yeah,
you can replicate what you're doing in New York City and other municipalities.
yeah,
So we always talk a lot on the show about the first next step. So how do you get started? So if you were to be giving
yeah.
advice to other cities and municipalities as to how to get started, what would you say?
Yeah, I would say that, you want to look at your program and see where this can fit in. Don't be afraid to do a small scale pilot to kind of test the waters. There are
So,
also, this is one variant, the particular combination of project requirements and contract requirements that we have with DEP. There's a lot of, I always talking about, twisting the knobs or turning the knobs. So there's a lot of different variables. So you can fix your unit price, you can fix your total delivery, you can fix time frames. So it's all about thinking about what outcomes do you want and how do you fix those outcomes, and then what variables do you leave up to the delivery partner. But it is a flexible model, so I think it can be adapted to a lot of other communities, not blueprinted, not copied directly. But you also want to take a look at the private properties themselves. How many private properties do you have in a particular municipality? What are their characteristics? Where are they located? And so then you can start to model out, if we have 10% of our private properties engaged in this program, what does that give us in terms of reduced flooding and water quality impacts and so forth? And then you can really just project out that cost. We were actually involved in some of that work for DEP way, way early on in the process, and that really helped to set the stage for this program. So, yeah, I think it's and also just identifying a champion. So one of the things that DEP had early on was an internal champion, or a couple of folks that were really just committed to seeing this model through, and was engaging legal folks and project procurement folks, really making all of those things happen, and really just not taking no for an answer, finding a way to change the way that not necessarily the projects that were implemented, but the way the projects were being procured is really the innovation here. And so I would say just identifying your internal champions and understanding that the model is flexible, and then studying your stock of properties to understand what you have on your hands and what benefit you could get from implementing on private property.
Could you give us some examples of some of the actual work that you're doing on these properties that is reducing the stormwater flow or
Yeah.
the overflow and flooding?
Sure. Yeah. So we work on lots of different property types. So it could be a university, it could be a hospital, it could be a like a private site, like a big box store. And really, we're about creating storage for stormwater, right? So at the end of the day, we're getting paid to be able to take stormwater that would otherwise just run off the property into the storm drains and off the site, and creating space on the property where that storage can occur, and then it can either infiltrate into the ground or slowly back into the storm system. So in a lot of cases, as you can imagine, the private properties are, the surface of the ground is at a premium. So we do a lot of subsurface practices. So these are vaults or chambers that are underneath the parking lots, where we can store a heck of a lot of stormwater, get that stormwater back into the ground, and improve the situation for the private property owner in terms of flooding, but also critically for DEP, that means less runoff that's going to be creating water quality problems downstream. We also do things where we can, like rain gardens, so surface expressions with vegetation, which could be quite beautiful and quite a landscape asset for our property owners. We could do things like porous pavement. Porous pavement is a really exciting technology where the pavement itself is the means to get the water into the ground and out of the DEP system and back in where it belongs, which is in the soil. So we're using a lot of porous pavement. That could be porous pavers. We use actually porous concrete, precast porous concrete panels as well. And we could do other things like green roofs and cisterns. So the technologies are virtually limitless in terms of what we can use, but they all have one thing in common, which is that we're creating storage on site for stormwater to have a place to go, which is not on the parking lots or on the roadways, and not in our waterways, but hopefully into the soil.
The entire thing sounds incredible. I'm excited about the project, and one of the aspects of it that's really interesting is the private aspect of the partnership.
Yeah.
So, what can you tell us about the private sector and how it gets engaged, and where does that start?
Yeah, I think the program is really all about getting the private sector into partnership with public utility and public agencies.
And how do they do that?
Well, I think private property. So there's a lot of private entities involved. So that you have the private property owner,
Yeah.
which is putting their land, we're using their land to actually build infrastructure that benefits them, but it's public infrastructure. So it's changing the focus of, well, where does public infrastructure belong? Well, we can actually put this infrastructure on private properties where it can help the property owner, but also help downstream areas. And if you think about it, the private properties are almost like the headwaters of these urban drainage systems. That's where the stormwater is produced and then conveyed. So if we can control it at the headwater, so to speak, I think we're doing really well. But the private sector is as well the delivery team. So Arcadis and all of our partners are the private sector. And so again, when you use outcome-based contracting or performance-based contracting, the private sector, the innovation of the private sector is really harnessed. So we have, once we're properly incentivized to be able to, hey, if we do X, Y, and Z, we're going to get compensated for it, which in this case is building real assets on the ground. We go to work in terms of figuring out how to streamline that process, how to really accelerate the deployment of funding on the private properties. So in terms of where the projects are going, it's the private sector. In terms of how we're delivering, it's the private sector. But the public sector is ultimately, really leading the effort, and it's really about doing public good. So I think it's a really great partnership between public entities and private entities delivering infrastructure that is important not only for private property owners, but for New York City as a community.
It's a team sport, teamwork.
Yeah.
That's what I
It
like to
is a
hear.
team sport. It is really a team sport.
And then you have the utilities too, which a large part of our audience. Water and wastewater utilities are really like stewards of all
Yeah.
public water. So, I mean, what you're doing is obviously helping them, but are they consulted as key stakeholders to make sure that what you're doing aligns with their goals?
Yeah. I mean, in many cases, the water utilities, the wastewater utilities are the entities that are on the hook, so to speak, and are being regulated to clean up waterways, to do a better control job with CSOs, for instance. But they're also taking on additional responsibilities to, help out with flooding and flood mitigation, flood reduction, and so forth. So, in a lot of cases, we have public entities such as utilities that are actually leading the way in implementing these programs. So, for instance, DEP is a wastewater and water utility. And they are, funding this work and driving the innovation in this sector. And so I think that's what we're going to see moving forward is water and wastewater utilities becoming increasingly innovative for how they get projects done, for how they use the public money that they're collecting from ratepayer dollars or from, general revenue, whatever it is, to get the most benefit into the world, into the ground for their ratepayers. And so I think the utilities are absolutely on the leading edge of this. And as long as the contract is set up to align with their goals, whether that's volume of CSO reduced or it's flood reduction or whatever those goals happen to be, as long as the contracts, the outcome performance-based contracts reflect that, I think you're going to have a really nice alignment with what the utilities are trying to accomplish and what we as the project sector are able to deliver for them.
Alignment has never been more important than it is right now. So I love the fact that we're using
100%.
right. So um, going back to the most logical first next step, if there's a municipality out there or a city that would like to learn more, how would they get in touch with you? What would be the best way to do that?
Yeah, so they can go to the Resilient NYC Partners website. They can figure out how to get in touch with our team there. Obviously, I'm on LinkedIn, and you can also email me at Shandor Szalay at Arcadis.com as well. Happy to answer additional questions or give folks some additional perspective on this contract and how we're able to work with DEP and how we can work with their community.
Shandor, just want to take a minute to thank you for coming on the show here. I know our viewers and our listeners took a lot away from what we just talked about. This is a topic that is pertinent, it's timely, it's relatable to every municipality and city that's out there, especially here in the United States. So thank you for spending your time here with us. And for all of you out there, our listeners, our viewers, on behalf of Kevin and I, we'd like to thank you for spending your time here with us as well. We can't wait to come back with another episode of the Water Online Show very shortly. But until then, take care, and we will talk to you soon.